The 23rd of July 2018, time for my Scientology study. I feel very lazy and I have had difficult time, but and I'm really worried about my body, but if I can still study, let me use the time. The German Chancellor Otto von Bismarck. So let me read this one again. Aha! I was to clear up percentile. That's from Dianetics. I have cleared up a card and buggy. I mean, I have checked the pictures of the card and the buggy. So the card is more for use in daily errands, like carrying gloves indeed, or if used for moving, and then it's heavier. And the buggy is a lighter. I think the buggy is a later development. Both are both belong to history. So the point made was that the spirituality of man would belong. Actually, I have already. Well, but I will read it again because for some reason that the theory, traditional concepts of soul and spirit would belong to the past. This is the idea. Perhaps I will read once again. The German Chancellor. It's. I mean, this is an introduction, but it's important because that contextualizes the technology. So, what are the circumstances? What are the conditions of life? And now, against these conditions, a certain theory comes up, and a certain technology is developed for a purpose. The German Chancellor Otto von Bismarck had definite materialistic ambitions at the time, and Wundt's ideas laid the foundation for 70 years of attempts to solve Germany's problems through warfare. After all went the thinking, if a dog can be trained to salivate, a man can be trained to fight. It merely required that he become conditioned to different ideas about the value of human life and the makeup of those in the enemy camp. Experimental psychology began to amass data to support this view. One of Wundt's students at Leipzig was the Russian physiologist Ivan Petrovich Pavlov. After returning to his country, Pavlov formulated his principles of mental conditioning, best known for his demonstration that a dog will salivate when a bell rings, if he was earlier fed to the accompaniment of a ringing bell. From this grew the idea that men could be conditioned like dogs. Pavlov's work in the field of conditioning led to the attempted brainwashing of individuals and entire populaces. What was popular split the public opinion. Avidly utilized by both Lenin and Stalin for political ends in the then USSR, it helped spread communist rule over almost half the world. It is no wonder that these new psychological theories, this wholly materialistic view of man, found great favor with government during this restless period of revolutionary social thought. The control of populations was much on their collective minds. If man could truly be understood in purely physiological terms, then one could control or solve the problems of man on a purely physical basis. Much like moving a recalcitrant cow by prodding it with a stick. This was the new view of man and life. All is material. Man and all life rose spontaneously from a sea of ammonia. The theory was not new, however. It had appeared thousands of years earlier in Egyptian mythology and was repeated in Greece by the philosopher Thales. Thales. Pronunciation dictionary. Thales. By the philosopher Thales, who believed that everything had water as its essence. Nevertheless, as man advanced into the 20th century, the traditional concepts of soul and spirit went the way of the horse-drawn cart and buggy whip. Materialism quickly ascended to supremacy in many fields which had traditionally held non-material views of man, society, and life. Sociology, philosophy, psychology, politics, education, and biology, among others, began to reflect the materialist's view of the world. And soon, the effect of their theories began to be felt throughout society. This is not to say it was all bad. Applying the principles of materialism to material things brought about remarkable increases in our scientific knowledge about the earth and the universe. It has given man a host of tangible improvements in his way of life. The great error, however, has been to apply these same materialistic principles to man himself. This is in fact the something, the basic source of the troubles in our modern area. The materialist view provided man with numerous false solutions to his problems. Man was placed in the confounding position of being materially rich, but spiritually and morally poor, confounding, puzzling, bewildering. I know that I had something wrong about this word. Confound, surprise, or bewilder someone. Prove a theory of expectation wrong. Defeat a plan or hope. Did I miss clearing it up, or did I clear it up and forgot I was clearing it up? This is Dianetics. That also belongs to Dianetics. compound. I was cleaning it up. So what happened? My attention must have been elsewhere. Well, well, well. So we are back to compound. And it's the 23rd of July 2018, and we take the word compound again. Aha, I was even demoing it out, I think. Weird. The materialist view provided man with numerous false solutions to his problems. Man was placed in the confounded position of being materially rich, but spiritually and morally poor. Confounding meaning defeating a plan or hope. So there actually the findings were to give him a better position, but he ended up spiritually and morally poor. So confound would mean defeat a plan or hope. Defeat a plan or hope. Their plan of turning me into a Satanist has been confounded. However, they have destroyed my body and its connections, creating the connections with Satanists and general destruction. Their plans for the attack were confounded by the early discoverer. The murder was confounded by the police arriving in time. My hope for having children was confounded when they created the sexual space around. I must say my hope for coming back to life anytime soon is being confounded day by day by the development of the situation. His plan for life was confounded by his refusal to participate in it. Their scheme was confounded by the weather. Her hope of my hope of not my hope. I believe that truth will eventually confound all their evil ways. Her prospects were confounded by the enemies who had been working hard to eliminate her. Surprise of the words of someone. She was confounded to learn her husband was an agent. I was confounded by the development of the situation. They have confounded her by moving her to a totally different position. She was claiming competencies that she did not possess. How confounded she was when she was asked to prove them. Prove a theory of expectation wrong. Prove a theory or expectation wrong. The theory of evolution was confounded by the findings at the Arctic. They thought they had they announced they had confounded Scientology, whereas they had actually created loads of untrue data which had nothing to do with Scientology at all. In my approach to research and development or humanistic studies, I do not look so much, I do not try so much to confound other people's theories, but rather to develop mine. They had great expectations which sadly enough have been confounded. Their purpose was confounding the theory, but they have only helped to elaborate on it. Confundere, mix up. Oh, that I remember. So confound means, what does confound mean? It means three things. One of the things it means that there's a person and there's another person, and this person can do something to that person, which makes this person surprised. Which means bewilder or surprise someone. The second definition. Oh, it was the first I was clearing up. The last one was about theory and expectations. Aha, hope or plan. Good. Okay. So this person had a plan, doing this and this and this. However, to confound means to make the realization of that plan impossible. So this does not happen because it's somehow blocked, and it concerns a hope or a plan. So this is the second definition, and the third definition is to prove a certain theory this is the theory wrong, or to prove certain expectations wrong. Oh. What are you saying? Are you saying that my real mom knows what Piotr has done to me? Well, first of all, we don't know if it's Piotr who has done it to me. And as far as my mom is concerned, God only knows how we can find each other. The results. Broad application of Wundt's man is an animal theory had disastrous and widespread consequences. And nowhere in this heritage more apparent than in the field of psychiatry. 19th century psychiatry, with its long history of mistreatment of the insane, leaped onto the coattails of experimental psychology to enter the universities of Europe and America. Coattails. Well, one thing is certain. When I started studying Scientology a few years ago, I had a certain inward rejection of all that hostility towards psychiatrists. So I was like, well, perhaps not all of them are like that, and but having had the experience with psychiatrists, well, where is it? Cold thing. I should have said what I would assess as what she expects, while actually there is, the question of integrity. Coattail. Each of the flaps formed by the back of a tail comb. Tail comb. A man's formal coat with a long skirt divided at the back into tails and cut away in front. Probably I will need a picture too. Skirt. The part of a coat or dress that hangs below the waist. The part of a coat or dress that hangs below the waist. The upper part of them coat was tight fitting, but the skirt was looser. The dress had a delicate flower pattern in the upper part and was plain in the skirt. They took the coat to they took the coat back. What's the English for krawiec? Tailor or dressmaker. They took the coat to the tailor because they didn't like the skirt. The dressmaker said it was impossible to change the skirt, so they took the dress to another one. And skirt a woman's garment that hangs from the waist and covers part or all of the legs. She loved wearing the skirt. Old nose shirt. Oh, interesting. Now tailcoat. Quite the reverse. I love life a lot. Tailcoat. A men's formal coat with a long skirt divided at the back into tails and cut away in front. He looked very elegant in his tailcoat. I associate tailcoats with a black color. I think I have an idea of a tailcoat, but I'm going to check it on the internet anyway. You look so smart in your tailcoat. Are you going to wear the elegant tailcoat? Old English. and cold old French coat. Coat tail. Each of the flaps formed by the back of a tail coat. So I understand the flap is that one of the two. Flap. Just don't tell me that Julian Assange has created all this design because he happens to be the one who had been reading my correspondence, and when I discovered that someone was reading my correspondence, I wrote in Facebook, "You are dead." So Julian Assange said, "So are you," and developed the whole project of killing. That would be the best comment on Assange's, wouldn't it? The U2 rule. No, not on Assange's, on the U2 rule. A piece attached to something on one side only to cover an opening. So this is something, and it has the opening. A flap would be something like that. They put they made a flap and attached it to the box. The back had a flap. The pen case had a flap. A movable section of an aircraft wing used to control upward movement. That should be specified as technical. I think I need to view a picture of it too. But theoretically, that is the part of the plane that moves to control its movement upwards. The part of the aircraft wing. Perhaps I will check a different. Indeed, constant word clearing. Oh, perhaps that is better. A part that is fixed on and one edge onto something else, often to cover an opening. Klapa. The action or sound of clapping. Wave above. You can flap your wings. Okay. She was listening to the flaps the birds were making while passing by. The flap of birds' wings remained in her memory. You cannot really hear the flap of the butterfly's wings. The flaps of the bird's wings were very depressing, for the wings were disproportionate to the body of the bird, and he could not fly. A panic or pass. I'm not in a flap, but I'm really horrified. Pass. Unnecessary. Oh, yeah. Basu. Yeah, the coat tail was expected to lead us into a word chain. I hate word chains. Bustle. Hurried or excited activity. Hurried or excited activity. If they announced today that the world was to end on the 27th, there would probably be a lot of bustle. You're saying, but no one would be saving egg. Well, perhaps someone would, quite to everyone's surprise. Miracles happen. but not to Egi. They used to happen to Egi a lot. But yeah, I know Agnieszka Pomaska has a problem with Egi because she wants to be called Egi, and so happens that I'm used to being called Egi, even if I spell it differently. And Agnieszka Pomaska's problem is that my personality is so strong that when you hear Egi, you don't necessarily think of Agnieszka Pomaska. Pass. As they rang the alarm, there was a lot of bustle. There was a lot of bustle before the concert. A lot of movement that is excited and hurried or excited activity. Right, indeed, someone ruined my life because they were not able to admit they gave oral sex or were giving oral sex to someone. But I think that there's more power behind it. Still, all these people are accomplices to the crime, of course. Energetic and hurt activity. There was a lot of bustle at the airport when they said there was a scare bomb, a bomb scare. The crowd went into bustle when they started shooting. After the battle there came calm again. And all the people got busy with their work. Okay, so this is battle pass. Unnecessary excitement or battle. Zamieszanie. They made a lot of fuss for no reason at all. Don't make such a fuss about they are making such a fuss because of the president comes. She always makes a lot of fuss about going out. So there was a lot of activity, there was a lot of hurry, there was so much excitement, and all this fuss unnecessary because after all they would not come. An agitated protest. Okay, perhaps some other definition. A protest or complaint. crowds, hosts of people participated in the pass in front of the same. They did not know what to do, but they decided for a pass. Hopeless in the situation, the people gathered for a pass. She made a huge fuss about the mold treatment. She made a lot of fuss about the mold treatment. Perhaps Anglo-Irish. Oh, Basque origin. Basque, super. So flap is a minor fan. Think what was happening if she went into a flap. It's not a hysteria, it's just a flap. Each of the flaps formed by the back of a tailcoat. No, actually, I'm not going to get used to it. As I said, I mean, you know, it is what it is now, but I mean, as time will develop, this postulate of my getting free will be getting stronger and stronger. So, because, you know, this is like, I had a life and now I have a constant trauma. So, which can get even worse. So this is like a signal going into, well, there's the address to God and there's the signal going into the outer space, which is a constant SOS. And that of course concerns my family life too, my parents, what's been done to us. And I mean, you know, how hopeful could this black man being a slave to a white man be? And perhaps he did not really get his freedom because they might have created all sorts of connections too, or perhaps actually there was some extraterrestrial action which destroyed the whole construction. The coattail was nicely ironed. The coattails make me laugh. The tailcoat has two coattails. On someone's coattails, benefiting from another person's success. I'm positively fed up with people living on my coat. I'm positively fed up with people living on my coattails. They say success has many fathers, but these are mainly people living on the succeeding person's coattails. The whole organization was living on his coattails. there would be many people. When, um, once he becomes a president, there will be lots of people on his coattails. Do you think once, do you think that should Robert Biedroń win the election, Anna Grodzka would be on his coattails? So who is exactly on Andrzej Duda's coattails? Nineteenth century psychiatry. Don't worry, I will be lying on my breast anytime soon. 19th century psychiatry, with its long history of mistreatment of the insane, leaped onto the coattails of experimental psychology to enter the universities of Europe and America. So the idea is that they actually use the success of the experimental psychology to enter the universities. Thus, in short order, the psychiatrist expanded his sphere of influence from insane asylums to the halls of political power and other institutions. Now, however, he carried with him not only the creed of materialism, but the attitudes of his heritage, that the insane needed to be controlled through any necessary means of force and endurance. Applied to populations at large, these attitudes have had disastrous consequences for society. And maybe I will read on tomorrow. Tomorrow, there will be tomorrow. So that's all for now. We're clearing again. But anyway, we know that the 19th century psychiatry entered the European and, well, universities because the experimental psychology practiced before was successful. But what they did actually, they took their materialism there and they went into politics, where they started effecting tough control by force of insane people. What has not been stated directly is probably that they started to be very useful for the politicians in them eliminating their political enemies.